they're not going to be told to express themselves and be free about it. They're told, you're thinking too much outside the box. So if you can't homeschool, you still have to reinforce the things you want your child to learn. So make sure your child is getting everything they can out of their education. It's not just to be educated. They have to also learn. If I'm told 2 plus 2 is 4, if I can't see it and you're not showing it to me and I'm not grasping the information, I'm never going to get it. And that's the problem a lot of these children are having. They're not getting the information. They can't grasp it. They're just told this is the answer and this is all you need to know. It's not helping them be successful or being even productive in society.
Well, you know, my grandmother used to tell me that you go to school to learn how to work. And you learn how to work by not thinking about what you're doing, just doing what you've been told to do. And I think that a lot of people are choosing, a lot of families are choosing to homeschool because they do not want their children to grow up in a fog, basically to grow up being programmed into just accepting things for the way that they are. And I believe that that's the reason why this homeschool movement or this shift by families going back home and taking more responsibility for the education and the rearing of their children, that it's actually putting a lot of stress on a lot of the school systems around the country. I was recently, just a few days ago, had the review for my portfolio for my son, who's in the 3rd grade now. He's 8 years old, and he has successfully completed his course of study for 2nd grade, of course, ahead of schedule, which a lot of homeschool children master their particular, core curriculum as a lot faster than they would if they were actually in a school, in the school environment, because they don't have all of the distractions. They have a lot more flexibility. They are at home, and they have that one-on-one or independent flow of study. So a lot of administrators in the school system are having issue with the way that people are moving toward homeschooling. It's not that they are saying, hey, I'm so dissatisfied with the public school system that I'm pulling my children out and they just going to stay at home. I don't think that that's the vibration. The vibration is, I love my children, I want the best for them, and I know that the best thing for them is me. We are living in such a fast-paced society where our children go to a child care provider at the age of 6 weeks, and they spend, 10 to 12 hours a day with someone else, getting their morals, being fed their nutrition, through someone else's means, and also being dictated to under someone else's rules and regulations that aren't ours per se. When you go to interview a daycare or child care provider, they're going to give you the best possible light. But that doesn't mean that what they're going to say to your child during the day or what they're going to show your child during the day is exactly what you would want for your children. And it doesn't start just when they go to public school. It starts from what I can see long before that time. When we are, mothers are forced to go into work 6 weeks after they have a child, 8 weeks after they have a child, and that child is spending, all of their time under the, supervision of someone else, that's where it all starts. And as they get older, it's like they're spending more time with the school staff and child care providers than they do with us. And that to me is a huge, huge thing to look at when you're considering whether or not you can homeschool or provide care in your home for your own children, because the cost, not just the monetary cost, but the cost of allowing others to provide for our children is really too high at this point. It's really, really too high, and we have to start showing our concern.
And that we do, and that's something I was expressing to my grandmother. I said, it's nice and all. The children I know in daycare, because my son was in and out of daycare depending on my work situation. And I was like, it's nice for him to sing the alphabet, which he doesn't. I never focused that on him, because there's plenty of children who can sing the alphabet, but they can't recognize it if they see it. They can't tell you what letter is what. They can't spell their name until they're 4 or 5 These things, just because they're teaching your child doesn't mean your child is learning. And that's something we're trying to express through this program is children are not learning. They're being taught how to do something. If your child is doing something and, other parents are like, oh, my child is doing this and my child is that, and why isn't your child doing this? Don't get discouraged, because your child is on their own plan. They're following. If you follow what your child needs to know and focus on their own growth level, regards to how they learn, your child may not be on the same level as another child. Don't be discouraged with it. Oh, he's not reading yet. Maybe your child doesn't want to read. But when your child does read, they will master reading at a faster level and will surpass that child whose parent was like, oh, they're not reading yet, when they do learn how to read. So you have to focus on each individual child. My child can count. He can spell his name. He can recognize words. He can recognize letters. He's learning how to add and subtract. He's doing the things I feel he's comfortable with. So I'm not worried, because I know I have an intelligent and very smart and very crafty child who comes up with things you wouldn't even realize, because I'm allowing him to learn on his own timetable. So that's, for me, that's why an eclectic or unschooling curriculum will work best for our family at this time, because that's what my son is leaning towards. So that's what I'm giving him when we do our lessons. We do lessons all day, even though when he's at school, when he's at home, we learn. It's not, oh, well, let's go pull out that workbook and do the work. It's not about that. It's about learning, your child learning on their own level. Now, like Sister Moo, she has to do certain things, but she makes it interesting for her child. So it works.
And you also have to be creative. And you have to allow your child to be expressive and creative as well. And that is something that public schools, private schools, parochial schools, charter schools, Montessori schools, all of these schools, they don't have that flexibility. They cannot offer. At one time, Montessori was the premier open learning environment. But now because of money, they have tightened up their reins. And what I find with my son is that even though we do have specific things that we have to do, he's in the 3rd grade now. So, yes, to me it is important that his core understanding, not education, but his core understanding of what is necessary to survive is important to me. He does have to understand how to move through this particular world that we're in. He's going to have to understand how to question things and how to do certain things to move forward. And that's what I focus on.